What is going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics. And if you have watched my live stream, some of my videos I've put out from that live stream, you know that there is a big Heritage comic auction, one of their signature auctions that's been going on. And so now that we've had all those books sell, I had priced out a number of books and original art from this auction. I know everybody's more interested in the comics, but I had priced out a number of items from this auction, over 200 items. And so I've pulled in all that sales data, and now we can talk about those high and low sales. Now, there's too many books for me to talk about in one video, so I'm going to do two videos on this. This one's going to be about the high sales, the sales that beat my projections. Then I'm going to do another video where I talk about the lower sales and the ones that went kind of more in line with what I thought they would do. Let's start getting into this. So you can see right up here, I've got the Fantastic Four #1 up here that sold. But before we talk about that, we're going to go over to this page here. And this is where you can see the results for the auction as they stand right now. And you can see that in the first three sessions, so that's the big comics, the big art, and then the slightly lesser comics, but still very expensive, have sold for a total of $18,652,121. I expect that this will blow past 20 million with the original art on the final day. I don't know exactly how much the original art on the final day is going to go for, but there are a ton of items, like 700 lots of original art. So that is going to crush the $20 million mark. Now, let's just talk about the performance at a high level. So session one, which is all the really big comics. For my estimates, for just the books I was tracking, which is 98 books, I had those going for $4,621,700, or an average of $47,000 per item. So that's kind of just give you an idea what the price point is there. And for that session, those books actually sold for $5,478,900, or beat my estimates on average by 18%. So that high end side, that first day, extremely strong, in my opinion, based on what I thought those books would sell for. Now, session three, that's the second comic session. I tracked 122 books in that session, and I had those going for $859,940, an average of $7,000 an item, which is still a ton of money. And those sold for $862,920, or almost exactly, when you average them all out, what I thought. It was 0.3% off. So one thing that shows you, and I talked about this in the live stream some as well, is that the super high-end market, and this is what I've been seeing, the super high-end market is very strong right now. And again, I said this on the live stream too, so it's interesting to see it all play out, that I call it like the mid-range market, and this is still like upper mid-range. Like I said, it's average of $7,000 an item, is not as strong. I mean, it was what I expected. So it wasn't weak, but it was right in line with what I was expecting. The other thing, when I look at how the books performed just in general, for that first session, 74% beat my estimates. The second session, just 55% beat my estimates. So still both strong. Like I say, if it's at 50% or higher, then that's good. That's showing either consistency or strength in the market. So both of those were solid, but really like outstanding for the really high end. And again, that doesn't tell you how the entire market is doing, but that high end doing really well. All right. So now let's start talking about some specific comics and how those performed. And the first one we're going to talk about here, because a lot of people have been talking about this book, Fantastic Four #1. A 9.2 White Mountain pedigree copy, sold for $600,000. Now, I did touch on this in my live stream as well, but this is one of those ones where some people will say that it was a weak sale or something because it was a big drop from what it sold for a few years ago during the comic boom. During the comic boom, this book sold for $1.5 million, or a 9.2. I don't believe it was the exact same book, but a 9.2 sold for $1.5 million. So it's down $900,000, which is obviously a lot. But I was expecting this book to sell for $500,000. So from my perspective, a $600,000 sale is actually a strong sale, beat my estimate by 20%. this went in line with, and even above, like I said, what I thought it would go for, what I thought this book would actually sell for. And so to me, this isn't a weak sale. It's just that when you have these books like this that are really high end, don't come up for sale very often, they will have more exaggerated moves, or tend to have more exaggerated moves when they come up for sale. And it's because you have other books that sell much more often in lower grades. So like there was also a 7.0 and a 6.0 in this auction. They sold almost right in line with what I thought they would do. And so I can make pretty accurate estimates on what I think a book is going to sell for based on what it has sold for in other grades. I have to do that with the Golden Age, and I apply that same thing with high-end books in the Silver Age. And so the interesting thing was this book is already up for sale again. I guess it was bought by Torpedo Comics, and they posted about it the very next day that it was up for sale. So, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was strange to see it come up for sale again immediately after it sold. But I mean, in my opinion, it sold for more than what I thought it would anyway. So I already think that was a solid sale for that book. But all right, let's move on to the next book. So the next book here is this one right here, Adventure Comics 46. This caused me to make a little bit of a rant in my live stream as well. This is one of the books from that collection Underneath the Stairs that I've made a couple videos about. And it's the fact that this book sold for $50,000. And I highly doubt that the original owner from this got anywhere near, and I could be wrong, but anywhere near what the value it was of these books. And that kind of stuff it rubs me the wrong way. And so that resulted in my rant a little bit in the live stream, that, if you have something like this and, you're getting a lot of interest from people, like, just auction it yourself, reach out to Heritage, reach out to Comic Link or Comic Connect or something, work with one of their consigners and get it, done yourself, and make sure that you get that thing. Like in this case, I believe it was her grandfather. It's like your grandfather had kept these, around for this is from 1940, 85 years. Like, why give that money away to some random dealer? That should be going to you, your family, everything like that. So that's why that stuff always just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, especially with like massive books like this. I thought this might sell for around 15,000. I said in the live stream, I wouldn't have been surprised if it went above that, like maybe 20 or 25, but 50,000 beat my estimate by 236%. I mean, just blew me away when I saw what this book ultimately sold for. But yeah, that one was incredible. All right, now let's move on to current title holder for the modern Grail book. This has definitely put the discussion between this one and the Ultimate Fallout 4 Djurjevic variant to bed. We have a 9.8 here, signed by Delato. It is the only known copy to have been signed by Delato in a 9.8. It's possible there's another one out there, or there could be one, but only known one. And actually, the buyer of this commented on in my live stream that they had picked this one up. Sold for $31,200. I had it going for $20,000 because I thought it was going to make a correction back down. I think we had a 9.8 unsigned sell for like $27,000 or something relatively recently. But yeah, this one, it stayed up near that price point. So $31,200. The reason this one is in such demand, it's from this time period in 2011 to 2012 when these books just weren't really selling all that well. And this was a 1 in 100. So you had to have bought 100 copies of this at your shop to get this. So there just were not many at all. And so there are not a lot of them graded. There just aren't a lot of them out there. There's a lot more in here. We'll jump over to CGC just so you can see the census on this book. There are a lot more of that, the Ultimate Fallout 4 variant than this book. And so you can see here, there are just 69 universals, 10 signature series. We've got 2 JSA books, so only a total of 81. So this is very, very low for a modern book, and especially a book that commands this type of value. So when we talk about census scarcity, this is real scarcity. because you have a book that is worth tens of thousands of dollars. There was a 9.6 also in this auction that sold for, I think, like 13 or 14,000. So, and it's a modern book, so you're going to have a fair number of 9.8s and 9.6s out of the percentages, right? Like 24 and 27, you can see here. And so even with that value, like if somebody has that book, they're generally going to get it graded. And so it just tells you that there are not a ton of them out there. And so, and it's SpiderMan. It is an amazing cover. I mean, there's a lot of things going for this book. Here you can see the CGC scan there, but a lot of things going for this book. And so it has just proven itself that it is a high demand book. But super cool, one that I was watching too, because I was thinking about bidding on it, but it went above what I was comfortable spending. But all right, let's move on to the next book here. This was an interesting surprise. Actually, a new record. That does not happen often now in the Silver Age. And this was Journey into Mystery number 85. And Mickey, Swaggle Comics, he talked about this, and it's likely because this book did not sell during the comic boom. And so if it had sold during the comic boom, it probably would have had like some $150,000 sale or something, and it's come back down here. But it did have a prior record of 53,300. I thought it would go for 75,000. So 20% over my estimate, $90,000 sale for a 9.6 white pages. I think there's like 4 other copies, or there's 4 copies. So there's 4 and a 9.6, none higher. So there are no 9.8s. Highest graded copy, first appearance of Loki, third appearance of Thor. Just awesome book, and just a solid sale. And yeah, getting to see records in the Silver Age just doesn't happen all that often now, because the comic boom just set all those records. And so you just tend to have books that really didn't sell during that time period. All right, now jumping back to the Golden Age here. This one was really surprising to me. So Wiz Comics number 2 or number 1, 7.0. This is the first appearance of Captain Marvel. And this one sold for $288,000. This book had sold during that comic boom period. Let's go look at it. So we look at Wiz number 1, and you can see here we had a 2024 sale. I mean, it's kind of late into the comic boom, but for $288,000, and it retained that price. Whereas I was expecting it to take a pretty big dive, because we have seen some drops in that book with some subsequent sales. But this one held up, and it tied its prior record. So it didn't set a new record, but actually tied its prior record. And that is meaningful in itself when a book that has sold within the last few years retains that price. So that one definitely surprised me a little bit. I had it going for 195,000, so beat my estimate by 48%. All right, now let's move on to this one. I really thought this book was going to drop. I mean, because it had such a strong sale during the comic boom. This is 7.5 Marvel Mystery Comics number 46. It's known as the Pickle Hitler cover, because you can see he looks like the green pickle on the cover there. $60,000. Prior record was 45,600. So let's just go look at that one so I can show you that. So we got Marvel Mystery number 46 from 1943. Obviously World War II cover. You can see here, 2023, 45,600, which was double its price in 2015. And then here we have 2025 went up by another about 30%. I thought it was going to correct back down. I thought it was going to have a bit of a correction, because we've kind of seen that in some of the lower grades, but this one actually went higher. I had it going for 39,000, just a small correction, but I've talked about that a number of times, especially in the Golden Age. What I like to see are confirmation sales. So if a book has one big high sale, I don't necessarily say that is now the price for that book, because a lot of times the next time it comes up, you'll have a bit of a correction. And so I thought it was going to go for 39,000, but it actually went higher. So beat my estimate by 54%. Really, really solid sale for Marvel Mystery Comics number 46 in a 7.5. All right, sticking with the Golden Age here. This was another one. I was definitely impressed with this sale, and I own a copy of this, and that's why I'm always watching it. And I'm always hoping to upgrade my copy, but they just keep going for big money. So this, I didn't think I was going to win it at this. That was just a bid I had put in earlier in the auction. But Phantom Lady 17 in a 6.5 classic Matt Baker cover. I had this going for 45,000. Prior record in grade was 33,600. So I did think it was going to go up. I did not expect it to go up this much. Sold for 66,000, beating my estimate by 47%. We have seen a good number of these come up for sale over the last few years because they've been getting such big numbers. And often when that happens, you do start to see the price slip down some. But in this case, there is clearly the demand out there to continue picking them up. So that speaks a lot for, for this book and for the Phantom Lady books in general. This auction had an entire run from issues 13 to 23. Issues 21 were actually on the second day or the third day. But all of them, I believe, beat my estimates except issue 14, which I talked about in the live stream, which is probably the least desirable issue from the run. So, I mean, yeah, that one did underperform some. I think it went about 1,000 less than I thought it was going to go for. But everything else was super, super solid in that auction, including a CBCS 6.5 that was for issue 23. And so, I mean, I can actually jump over to that one real quick. And you can see here, we had the CBCS 6.5 sold for 9,900. Super strong sale. The CBCS books actually did pretty well in this auction. There were a few of them, and the ones that I was watching actually had some pretty strong sales. I usually like to watch those to see if I can catch a deal, but that was not the case during this auction. All right, now jump into a Bronze Age book, a little bit more rare book, especially in grade. I think this is the first time it is ever sold in this grade. This is Cerebus the Aardvark, sold for 12,600. It has never sold in this grade, so I had to make, kind of an educated estimate based on other sales. I thought it was going to go for 9,000, 12,600, beating my estimate by 40%. Definitely a solid sale for this book. Super tough book in grade. I think that this is, so there's 2 and 9.2 and 2 higher. So there are 2 9.4s. So there's no 9.6s, no 9.8s. So the second highest grade available for this book, and definitely had a solid sale. So 12,600 for 9.2 of this, what is a pretty uncommon book to come across, again, especially in high grade. You do have to be careful about counterfeits for this book because they are out there. All right. Now jumping back to the Silver Age again. Going into Journey into Mystery number 83 in a 7.5. This one had a really strong sale. It is a great looking copy. I mean, I'll say that. It is a great presenting copy of this book. Really strong sale, though, at 31,200. I thought this book was going to go for 20 grand. Its record during the comic boom was 60. I thought it was going to go for 20. Beat my estimate by 56%. Just to kind of show you, like, I'm not just making up those numbers. Journey into Mystery 83, and we'll look at the 7.5. And this was actually a pretty big jump up from the prior sale. So 7.5 here, you can see that there's that spike. It's already in there. The last sale this year, the only other sale this year was 19,000. This jumped up to 31,200. So I didn't think it was going to go all the way down to 19 again. That's why I said 20. I thought it might do a little better than that, but actually significantly better than that, beating my estimate by 56%. So very solid sale for that book. All right, another one. I mean, and these are the ones that I picked because there were a lot of books that either beat my estimates or didn't beat my estimates, that kind of thing. But I picked out the ones that really caught my attention, that I thought were especially interesting to talk about here. And this one, Star Wars number 1, 9.4, 35 cent price variant. I know there are people out there that don't care about that. They don't care about the price variant. I think it's cool. I have owned one of these before. I would probably try to own another one again in the future. Sold for 48,000. This is not the record because it did sell during the comic boom for 56,400, but it has had some lower sales recently. I think there was one at around 27,000. I thought this was going to go for 30,000. Sold for 48,000, beating my estimate by 60%. Definitely some serious demand for this book. And I'll show you Star Wars number 1, where this we've had a few sales recently for this book, and this was just definitely a standout sale for the 35-cent variant. If you're not familiar with this book, the 35-cent variant was only released in a few markets, and so that's why there just aren't that many of them out there. There's not even a 9.8 that exists of this book. I think there's a 9.6. Let me see. I don't remember if there's a 9.6. Okay, there are 2 9.6s, 17 9.4s, 302 total universal copies. So if we go down to the 9.4 here, you can see we have had a few sales. We had 2 last year, 2 this year, 1 in 2023, 1 2022. Here you can see that 56,400. Then it started ticking down as they came up for sale. 50,000. Then we had a 40,000, then 28.8. And then earlier this year, we had 31.2 and then 48. And so definitely kind of back on the upswing there for that book. So really solid sale for Star Wars #1, the 35-cent variant. All right. Now, next, I just thought I would talk about a couple pieces of artwork, so don't leave right now. We'll be coming back to some comics, but a couple pieces of artwork. This one specifically because it broke $1 million, and I did not think it was going to break $1 million. And if you were watching this one live, it was definitely being worked up there. Like it was stuck under $1 million. And Brian, the auctioneer, was like, I think, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said, "I'm going to let you guys think about this one." And he stopped and he took a drink, and then it got another bid that pushed it up over that $1 million mark. I had it going for 850,000 before the live started. This art was at 444,000. And it looked like it had gotten stuck a few times, but it kept getting, there was definitely some back and forth. I mean, people have got to take their time and think about bids that are at this level. But yeah, just inching over that $1 million mark. So 1,035,000, beating what I thought it would go for by 22%. But this is on the comic side, this is my favorite Frank Frazetta cover from the Famous Funnies run, issue 214. For me, I really like the Red Planet in the comic, and you don't get that in the original art. So it takes something away from it for me. Like, I really do like the coloring. That adds a lot to this for me, but still an incredible piece by Frank Frazetta from 1954, from that just amazing run of Famous Funnies from 209 through 216. Those are all Frank Frazetta covers. But yeah, watching this one live was just really interesting because it definitely, it was getting worked to really, I think the goal was to try and get this thing above $1 million. That's really what it felt like while you were watching it. But yeah, super cool. Then one more piece of original art, and this one, I'm not shocked by the sale. I think that I had it going for 200,000. I was pretty comfortable in thinking that it was going to break 200, but before the live bidding started, it was at 99,000. So it definitely did a lot in the live, but it went for 288,000. This is that classic jock cover of Detective Comics 880, and just super, super cool. Beat my estimate by 44%, but yeah, this one is awesome. I mean, the reason I'm not surprised by it is because I feel like in the modern era, this, other than maybe the second print variant for Batman 608, I think this is probably the most recognizable, and I would probably even put this one above that, Batman cover or Batman related cover from the modern era in the last 30 years. And at least, and I think it's the best Joker cover since probably Batman 251. I can't think of one that is more recognizable, more iconic than this. And so to me, that's why this really deserved hit that number, because when you get into that modern era, it's a little harder to come across those things that are just really stand out and recognizable. And this is one of them, and just awesome. So yeah, super cool. 288,000, beat my estimate, but I'm not shocked. I just think it's really cool to see this come up for sale. All right, now back to comics. So jump to the golden age here for this one. We've got Captain America Comics number 74. Now, the reason this one surprised me, so sold for 15,600. I had it going for 11,000. Prior record was 19,200. So didn't set the record. That record was set during the comic boom, but I thought that this one was going to go a little lower because to me, it comes across as like a little faded or something. I talked about this in my video where I went over all the books that were part of this auction. And the cape on the Red Skull is a much lighter green. It's possible it's just a printer thing, but Captain America looks a little less blue too. So that's why I think it might be something with the sun. So I thought that was going to hurt the price a little bit. The reds are super bright though. So that's why it's possible it's just a printing difference, kind of a variation in printing, because you would expect to see the reds start to maybe fade as well. And those look really bright. And the blue on the Marvel Comics stamp here looks bright, looks deep too. So it's possible it's just a printing difference. But yeah, I thought that this one, that might hurt it a little bit, but it definitely did not. Sold for $15,600, beating my estimate by 42%. All right. Now, this one just kept going in the bids. I was watching this one, definitely one that I felt was worthwhile to talk about. And I mentioned this one when I was talking about the books, when I was going through all of the items that were coming up in my preview video as well. Wonder Woman #1, it's a 0.5 brittle pages. Everything is split, but it's complete. It's all there and it presents really, really well. So I thought that this was going to go for $7,500. I often see that brittle just gets hammered on Heritage. And so I thought that was going to hurt it. And, just the fact that, it's a 0.5, but sold for $15,600, actually set the record in grade. Prior record was $15,500. So just by $100, but a record in grade for a 0.5 and a brittle page copy. Now, yes, like I said, it is a great presenting book. And nothing, I mean, you've got like a little bit of the flaking showing up here at the top, but in general, it doesn't look like it's just like crumbling in there or anything like that. So really cool book. Beat my estimate by 108%. But I mean, it's just one of those things where if you compared that to probably a 1.0 or a 1.5, like this book still presents, I bet, way better than almost any of those that are out there. And so it's a great presenting book. I think if you sent this to CBCS, you'd probably get a 1 or a 1.5. And that could also be kind of the argument there that somebody might think that they could actually cross grade it to get a higher grade. CGC is especially hard on this type of situation with a book. But yeah, $15,600 for Wonder Woman #1 and a beautiful presenting 0.5. All right, we've only got 2 left here. We've got a modern and then a Bronze Age book. So we've got 93351. So this one, Amazing Spider-Man #20, the Unique Low Edition. So this book, and I've thought about maybe making a separate video kind of talking about this one and why people like to hunt for those unique books that get released out there. Like the giant size X-Men foil that was at GameStop, and that the Superman like crypto book that was at, I don't know if it was at Walmart or wherever that was selling, that was part of the dog biscuits. Why people like to hunt for that stuff? It's because of books like this. I mean, this is a modern book. This is 2019. You can see down here in the description, also known as Amazing Spider-Man 821, this rare variant was made available as a free gift only to customers who purchased 2 t-shirts designed by Jason Poland from Uniqlo's Marvel collection. Copies have sold for as much as 10,000 in near mint 9.8. This one, a 9.6, sold for 5,040. Its prior record was 6,000, so it's down from the record, but I had it going for 4,000. So it beat my estimate by 26%. But I mean, that sounds exactly like the foil. Now, the foil is clearly much more out there. We have no idea how many are actually out there. But with the foil, you were supposed to buy 2 statues or 2 kind of like figurines, whatever you want to call it, and you got the foil. This one, you buy 2 t-shirts. It's just that I'm guessing there were a lot, maybe people just didn't realize this was going on, or it was a lot harder to get it, or maybe stores got a lot less of them. I don't know. But if we take a look at, let's go take a look at the census for this book. You can see here, it's only 33 universals. There's 1 signature, so only 34 total. I don't know if there are a bunch sitting out there. I don't know if there's a box of them somewhere or multiple boxes in some warehouse that somebody's going to find at some point and they're going to get graded. I have no idea. But right now, this is super rare. And it does also give the impression of actual rarity, actual census rarity, because it is a very valuable book. You can see our 9.6 selling for $5,000, and there's only 33 on census. Now, maybe somebody hasn't found that box that's out there yet, or maybe people just aren't as familiar with this and haven't gotten it graded yet, don't know how much value it has. But this is the type of book that causes people to go out and do those searches, do those hunts for these when there's some type of exclusive that's just a little trickier to get. And so, yeah, I mean, just incredible sale, $5,040 for Amazing Spider-Man 20, the Uniqlo edition. All right, now the last book I'm going to talk about here, and like I said, I'll do a separate video for the books that I felt went below my estimates, as well as just some others that went for around what I thought they would sell for. We've got Conan #1 in a 9.8. This book just never ceases to amaze me. This is one of those books. There was somebody that made a post recently on one of like the Facebook groups or something that I'm part of, or maybe it was on Reddit. And they said, which books surprise you that keep going strong or have retained their value after the comic boom? This is one of them. This book just keeps selling really, really well. There's this one, there's like X-Men 101 is another one that I talk about. Conan #1 sold for $8,400. I had this going for $6,000. Now it's down from its comic boom price. It did have a sale at $14,400, but this is still well above where it was prior to that. So if we go to GPA just to see this one, Conan #1 from 1970. And you can see here, like it does sell periodically, but we had prior to the comic boom, this was a $5,000 book. You had a couple big sales during the comic boom period. I mean, let's see, we had 14,400, but this sale here, this sale of 8,400, at least from the public sales, ties as the second highest sale ever for this book. There was one sale here at 8,400 last year. And other than that, we've had a $14,400 sale. This is the second highest sale ever for this book. It just keeps going strong. See here, we had another sale for $5,750 just in May, but a $7,800 sale. Looks like it was probably also on Heritage earlier this year. Oh no, not on Heritage, on My Comic Shop. So yeah, this book just continues to perform very, very well. And you can see it's been pretty consistent. You have a couple of these little dips every once in a while. It makes me wonder if maybe those are off-white to white pages or something. I haven't checked, but still has retained a very consistent value here since 2022. And it's well above where it was prior to the big spike during the comic boom. So yeah, Conan #1 is just one of those books that whenever it comes up for sale, I always think, I'm like, is this the time it's going to correct? And it doesn't. It just, it keeps performing really, really well. But that's all the books I'm going to talk about in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. There were a lot more strong sales than weak sales in this auction. Like I said in the beginning, when I was going over all the metrics and everything, I mean, this was just a very impressive auction from the perspective of the high-end market. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. These are very expensive books. I mean, session 1, average sale price for the comics was $55,907 for the ones I was watching. And in session 3, the average sale price was $7,073. So these were big, big numbers for these books. And so that's definitely the high-end market. But let me know in the comments, are you picking anything up? What did you think of this auction if you were watching it? And I will see you on the next one.